Isaac Newton is remembered as the father of the Age of Reason. He is the figure we credit with bringing mathematical order to the universe, elevating human understanding above medieval superstition. His 1687 publication of the Laws of Motion and Universal Gravitation remains a foundational text of modern physics. It laid out a completely mechanical, predictable cosmos. That pristine legacy remained unchallenged, largely because a massive collection of his private notebooks was kept hidden for centuries. In 1936, those papers finally surfaced at a Sotheby's auction. The British economist John Maynard Keynes purchased the documents. As he read through the disorganized boxes, he found a version of Newton that completely contradicted the public image of a devout rationalist. The papers showed that Newton secretly rejected the core doctrines of the Church of England, holding beliefs that would have cost him his position at Cambridge had they become public. He also spent decades analyzing the Book of Revelation. He applied complex calculations to the biblical text to determine that the apocalypse and the fall of corrupt religious powers would occur in the year 2060. Beyond theology, he wrote over 1 million words on alchemy, and in his later years, he left academia entirely to work undercover, hunting down and prosecuting counterfeiters in the slums of London. The man who wrote the rules of gravity was simultaneously consumed by magic and biblical prophecies. Understanding how these conflicting identities coexisted requires looking at the physical toll his secret experiments took on his body. The Portsmouth Papers reveal that Newton treated alchemy as a rigorous, lifelong discipline. He transcribed endless recipes and conducted grueling chemical experiments in search of what alchemists called nature's secret fire. He documented his progress using dense codes to hide his findings from competitors. His notes are filled with esoteric terminology, referencing the synthesis of the green lion and the chemical production of Diana's tree. He built custom furnaces, physically engaging in the dangerous aurific arts to try and synthesize the legendary Philosopher's Stone. Working in complete isolation for decades made Newton deeply suspicious. His contemporaries noted his cautious, fearful temperament, and his assistants regularly witnessed severe, unpredictable outbursts of rage. Those erratic behaviors were likely a biological consequence of the volatile materials he was boiling in his laboratory week after week. This chart shows the results of a modern posthumous analysis of Newton's hair. The data reveals massive, toxic levels of mercury, a heavy metal used frequently in his alchemical pursuits, known to cause severe neurological damage and paranoia. The very elements he believed held the hidden code of the universe were systematically poisoning his nervous system, fueling the extreme eccentricities of his final decades. In 1696, Newton left Cambridge to take up the position of Warden at the Royal Mint inside the Tower of London. The government intended it to be a comfortable, honorary title to reward his scientific achievements. Instead, he took the job seriously. England was facing a severe economic crisis due to worn-out silver coins and rampant counterfeiting, and Newton applied his exactingly detailed methodology to overhaul the national currency. He developed a comprehensive intelligence network, personally donning disguises to visit sketchy taverns, gathering informants, and mapping criminal syndicates. Operating as a relentless prosecutor, Newton personally interrogated suspects. He built impenetrable legal cases that resulted in 28 convictions for high treason. He approached organized crime exactly as he approached a mathematical equation, as an error requiring absolute correction. Under his watch, convicted counterfeiters were sent to the gallows to be hanged, drawn, and quartered. The paranoia and aggression that made him an effective law enforcement agent also poisoned his academic relationships, culminating in a vicious priority dispute over who invented the mathematical field of calculus. When the German mathematician Gottfried Leibniz published his version of calculus, Newton accused him of plagiarism. Newton leveraged his followers and his presidency of the Royal Society to launch a bitter, decades-long smear campaign against him. It raises a structural question about how his mind worked. Why would a person apply the exact same combative, obsessive intensity to mathematical equations, criminal investigations, and esoteric alchemy? The answer lies in the fact that the modern category of scientist did not exist in the 17th century. Newton was a natural philosopher. He believed every part of the universe operated under a single set of instructions authored by God. To Newton, decoding the prophecies in the Book of Revelation, synthesizing metals in a furnace, and mapping the elliptical orbits of planets were not separate hobbies. They were the exact same pursuit of one underlying truth. His belief in the occult was not a distraction from his science. It provided the conceptual framework that made his modern physics possible. His alchemical studies relied on non-mechanical, active principles, unseen influences causing reactions. This occult concept allowed him to conceptualize gravity as an invisible force acting across vast distances without physical contact. His scientific contemporaries initially rejected his theory of gravity precisely because it sounded like occult magic. But Newton's deep background in alchemy meant he was perfectly comfortable embracing unseen forces and locking them into rigid mathematics. John Maynard Keynes described Newton as the final magician, a man whose occult framework birthed the rational modern age. The rational modern world was built by a man looking for the Philosopher's Stone. For centuries, humanity operated under a divided sky. The rules governing the dirt beneath our feet were believed to be entirely separate from the perfect celestial mechanics that guided the stars. Isaac Newton stepped into this fractured scientific landscape as a young scholar at Cambridge, entering an era where the heavens and the earth remained disconnected. In 1665, the Great Plague forced Cambridge to close its doors. Newton retreated to his family home at Woolsthorpe, where he would spend 2 years in near total isolation. During these years, his view of the cosmos underwent a massive shift. He began to see the universe as a single, predictable, and synchronized machine. Newton realized that observing the machine was only the first step. To understand how it actually turned, he would have to develop a new language of physics and mathematics to measure it. By 1664, Newton had identified a wall in existing mathematics. Geometry and algebra could describe static shapes, but they were unable to calculate continuous rates of change, such as the acceleration of a moving body. He solved this problem by developing the method of fluxions, the foundation of what we now call differential and integral calculus. His crucial insight was that integration is simply the inverse procedure to differentiation. He took these operations and unified techniques previously used for finding areas, tangents, and curves into a single analytical method. His expansion of mathematical theory was rapid. He generalized the binomial theorem, created Newton's method for roots, developed numerical integration formulas, pioneered vector analysis, and founded the calculus of variations. These inventions provided the mathematical infrastructure necessary to describe the physical mechanics of the universe. Turning toward optics, Newton challenged the long-held belief that white light was a pure, fundamental element of the natural world. Newton's prism experiment demonstrated that white light is actually a compound of 7 distinct colors refracting at different angles. This revealed a flaw in glass lenses. They failed to focus these separated colors at the same point, creating blurred chromatic aberration. Newton engineered a solution by building the first functional reflecting telescope. By using mirrors instead of lenses, he ensured that light reflected equally regardless of its color, producing a sharp, clear image. His research into the properties of light, including interference patterns and his corpuscular theory, was eventually collected in his 1704 book, Optics. Newton's work on the spectrum allowed us to correct human vision and extend our reach into the cosmos, fundamentally changing how we observe the stars. In 1687, with the encouragement of Edmund Halley, Newton published the Principia, the work that established the laws of physical motion. He outlined 3 universal laws of motion and integrated them with his law of universal gravitation. He proved that the inverse square force pulling an apple to the ground is the exact same mathematical principle keeping the moon in orbit. This explained the orbits of comets, the variations in the tides, and the elliptical paths of planets. He also calculated the speed of sound, formulated an empirical law of cooling, and introduced the first heat transfer formulations. The Principia provided a unified set of rules for the entire universe, successfully binding the physics of the Earth to the motion of the stars. Despite his public status as a rational scientist, Newton's private life was dominated by a secretive obsession with theology and alchemy. In a hidden laboratory at Cambridge, he spent years searching for the Philosopher's Stone, attempting the transmutation of metals and the discovery of chemical truths. This work was physically hazardous. Operating without ventilation, Newton routinely inhaled fumes of mercury, lead, and antimony, likely leading to chronic heavy metal poisoning. He occupies a unique position in history, the father of modern rationality who spent his nights as the last of the ancient magicians. Following the publication of his work, Newton's framework became the cornerstone of the scientific revolution and the Age of Enlightenment. His model of a universe governed by natural laws inspired philosophers and sociologists to apply these same principles of reason to human progress and political systems. This monument symbolizes his lasting impact, the demonstration that the mechanical universe obeys a single set of laws derived through experiment and observation. By synthesizing mathematics, light, and motion, Newton provided the framework for our modern understanding of the physical world. If you want to stay informed with facts that matter, follow this channel now.